Anyone who's listened to SoundTruth magazine for any period of time knows that I really love to talk to missionaries. Missions is where it's at, whether it's at home or abroad. And today we're going abroad. We're going to Ethiopia, which is definitely not, you can't get there from here. So anyway, I have in the studio with me Josh Leinbach. Josh, welcome and thanks for being here and for driving all the way down from Jacksonville.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here.
And let's talk about what Elpis actually does.
Yeah, Elpis, again, this is all predicated on a desire that Pastor Michael and his wife Jaime, who are just two of the godliest people I've ever had the tremendous blessing to be involved in. They are true disciples of Christ. It's just amazing. But and again, the thing that I felt so drawn to at the time was how much of their own time and their own personal finances they would use to minister to these people. And a lot of Michael's family, his brothers, and their subsequent families and relatives, they all pitch in to this ministry. And he really does try to meet the most needy people that he can reach. And he had a heart for children. As you can imagine, there are just scores and scores of children who, through just sickness, for deprivation of clean water and food, have found themselves really at the mercy of the streets, or they live with very distant relatives, or just a guardian is the best the country could put them in contact with. But there's no one really to speak up for them or take care of them or take an interest in them. And I think that was the real heart as the beginning of his ministry. So that's really where he started trying to meet those needs. And each of the children under Elpis's care, he's used really good discernment as to how he selects the children for this ministry. The kids that are under his care have lost one, or in most cases, both of their parents, and just as I was mentioning, live with either a relative or a guardian. So, but they're unable to financially provide for these kids. They were not eating meals on a regular basis. Sometimes they were eating every couple days or so, just because the families are so poor, they just don't have the financial means to take care of another mouth to feed. So Michael started a very simple feeding center in his hometown of Awassa, which is in the southern part of Ethiopia. He partnered with a local church there. They let him use just a little open area. It was just really some sticks with a tin roof, but it suited him, and he was able to hire a cook and some simple food like rice and beans. And he was able to feed, I think he started out with 5 or 6 kids. That's where his ministry really started out, was that small little group, and over time it's branched out to quite a bit more. But that's sort of the heart of where he started his ministry, was with those kids that had just been dealt a very, very difficult life at a young age. And I was impressed on that first trip that I had mentioned earlier, because I had a lot of questions myself. Well, how do you select, kids? And I found through my experiences in international missions that sometimes, unfortunately, funds where people give for a ministry are not used in what I would consider the best means, through administration or other fees that I wouldn't deem, what I would consider appropriate or necessary. But Michael, anyone that has a kid that they want him to take care of, he can request that they go to the local government and get documentation that sort of substantiates their story, that yes, this is a child under my care, but they're not mine. This is how much I'm making. I can't really afford it. So that way he's assured that he's really meeting genuine needs for these kids.
Elpis has kind of evolved a little bit also into not only caring for, I guess you could basically say, kids on the street or kids in bad situations, to
Correct.
Also assisting with widows and women who cannot support themselves. Am I correct about that?
That is absolutely correct. As our church and other people, we finally got a couple trips under our belt, which the first trips were very small. We were only taking 4 or 5 people. But one of the trips included a gentleman named Dr. Herman Rios from the Florida Baptist Convention, and he was very moved by the ministry as well, was impressed like I was with how effective for such a very small and very meager means they were really getting a lot done. They were really making the most of very, very little bit. And it was sort of, God just taking a mustard seed and doing great things with it. So he, in turn, when he came back, started really getting the word out. And ministries such as yours has, afforded us a platform or an avenue to continue to get the word out. And as it's expanded, there's more money. And so we incorporated a child sponsorship program to where we have people can sponsor their child, something like Compassion International or something like that. But we pride ourselves in that we do a really good job of very, very direct. There's not any middleman or liaison really between the sponsor and the child. They get pretty much direct communication, as much or as little as they want, with their kid. And we make it available. Any sponsor could travel with us and actually meet their kid and go to their home. And that's happened. I think there are now 6 sponsors that have made that trip and actually met their kid. But as means had come in, Michael felt like the Lord laid on the verse in James where it said that true religion is to take care of orphans and widows. And he felt like the Lord was leading him to extend the ministry further now that there were more means, from street kids to widows, ladies who have, in a similar situation as the children, they've lost their spouse. There's no, sons or daughters that are able to take care of them as well. And they're sort of on their own to fend for themselves. In some cases, the local churches do what they can to try to support them, but they live a very difficult life, and a lot of times their situation become as serious and as dire as the children, where they're not eating, every single day. So again, Pastor Orega stepped in and started a widows ministry, and what he's been able to do with that is he made that known, and as people in America and in the States have donated money, he gives them a sack of flour and oil that will feed them for an entire month at a time. And in addition to that, they also has started a program to where they cook goods for a store that just opened up. This last trip we went early this year in March, we opened up a store at the feeding center in Owasso. And the widows will cook for that store, and as they sell, that money in turn is used to purchase their flour and oil for the next month. And then, of course, they will feed themselves on that, and they'll cook for the store. So it's really turned into something that's really neat, that is now sort of its own solvent ministry, where the widows are being ministered to, and they're keeping the store going, which also pays not only for their needs, but also the feeding center as well. So it was a really neat ministry he started there.
It's not just a handout, it's a hand up, to pardon that cliche. But they also do other things, like I know we purchased some awesome coffee.
Yes.
And the little bread basket and different things. So they make things and roast and prepare coffee, right? And sell that also. So.
That is correct, which coffee is a very, very big export crop from Ethiopia. And any Ethiopian that's worth their salt knows how to roast coffee beans and make you a mean cup of coffee. I can promise you that.
Unbelievable. I've got that little cup. Why such a little cup? And then I didn't sleep for 3 days. But
yeah, exactly right.
It's amazing coffee. But, it's not just a drink in that country. It's a culture.
It absolutely is. And just like here in America, we sort of have our, what we would consider, a hospitable way of treating guests. In Ethiopia, that includes they'll give you some popcorn, and then they'll roast their coffee beans over an open flame for you while you're chatting and kind of chewing on your popcorn. And then when the coffee's ready, they'll grind it and they'll mix it and pour it for you right there. And straight black Ethiopian coffee, you better be sitting down, because it packs a punch. I can tell you that.
Elpis is it's ELPIS, by the way.
Yes, sir.
And it's from the the mythological story of Pandora's box.
That is correct.
So, and she, I don't want to steal your thunder, but she was given the box, and the name of the box was Elpis, which means hope. And the hope was if she didn't open it, frankly. But I was thinking, now that the box has been opened and there's pandemonium, you guys are seeking to bring that Elpis to an area where the pandemonium can be controlled with the love of Christ.
Amen.
And there's such a parallel between the temptation of Eve and everything. It's the Greek way, or I think it was Greek mythology, of handling that. But the truth of the matter is, when sin runs rampant, people need God's love. People need to know there is hope. Josh, thanks so much for your time. It's been definitely worth it for me to have you down here just to hear more about this.
Well, we sure do appreciate it. And again, I'll tell you, it's been so neat, brothers and sisters like you that have just taken time out of their way and their busy schedule to give Elpis an opportunity, or one of us, to speak up and tell a little bit about ourselves. That's how it's gone from 5 kids to where we are now. So we sure appreciate you and your ministry, and we just pray the best of God's blessings for you.